Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'd like to welcome you all to today's webinar. We're going to be discussing the new second edition of Fundamentals of the Physical Therapy Examination, Patient Interview and Tests and Measures, written by Dr. Stacie J. Fruth. My name is Aliana Ortum. I'm going to discuss the author, Stacie J. Fruth, and her background before transitioning to the text. So I'll provide a general overview of the book, including its organization, key features, and updates to the second edition. You'll also get to hear some teaching tips, as well as hear some feedback from students and instructors. At that point, I'm going to turn things over to my colleague, Liam Butler. He's going to be demonstrating the Navigate 2 platform, and that's where you'll be able to find all of the valuable resources such as the video tutorials. And then lastly, we'll wrap things up with a quick Q&A session, and we'll also let you know where you can request a copy of the book and request access to the Navigate 2. So Dr. Stacie J. Fruth, author of the text, is the founding chair and professor in the Department of Physical Therapy at Western Michigan University, where she is also the director of the Doctor of Physical Therapy program. Dr. Fruth received her Bachelor of Science degree in kinesiology from the University of Michigan, her Master of Science degree in exercise science from the University of Massachusetts, her Master of Science degree in physical therapy from the University of Indianapolis, and her Doctor of Health Science degree from the University of Indianapolis. She also received board certification as an orthopedic clinical specialist in 2011. Since transitioning from full-time clinician to academia in 2003, Dr. Fruth has been responsible for teaching physical therapy students the fundamental clinical skills required for both patient examination and intervention. In 2009, Dr. Fruth received the Teacher of the Year Award from the University of Indianapolis, where she served as a faculty in the Krannert School of Physical Therapy for 12 years. Clinically, she has focused her practice in the emergency department of a level 1 trauma hospital as well as in a pro bono clinic. So according to Dr. Fruth, the central purpose of this textbook is to provide novice to intermediate physical therapy students with a resource that can be used both in the classroom and in the clinic to help them learn methods of collecting meaningful verbal, observational, and measured data from any patient, regardless of setting or diagnosis. So the textbook is really a complete guide to the essential physical therapy patient examination techniques, including comprehensive discussion about the patient interview and detailed step-by-step instructions for a very broad collection of physical tests and measures commonly utilized by physical therapists in a variety of settings. The foundational purpose of the text is to provide students with information about the what, why, when, how of each portion of the patient examination, emphasizing that it is just as important to know when a question, test, or measure is not necessary as when it is. So really what makes this text different from most is that it does not ask the reader to learn methods of examining a particular body region or a specific condition. Instead, common interview questions and a myriad of physical tests and measures are described, and the reader is asked to consider which questions and which tests or measures are appropriate for any given patient. Each test and measure is explained in a succinct manner with extraneous information intentionally excluded. There's also a plethora of pictures and videos to engage students and bring concepts to life. So in terms of the textbook organization, the first chapter opens up and provides an introduction and describes the global concepts that will follow in the remaining chapters, which are presented in two interrelated parts. So part one, the patient interview, laying a solid foundation. This is dedicated to the initial interview, with chapters 2 and 3 discussing the vital aspects of creating rapport in an environment of trust, using a variety of communication tools, understanding the influence of psychosocial and cultural factors, recognizing personal biases, and appreciating the need to meet with patients where they are. Chapter 4 then provides a thorough description of categories, types, and examples of interview questions. Moving into part 2, building on the foundation, this begins with a chapter describing the transition from patient interview to performance of tests and measures. Emphasis is placed on the importance of using information gathered from the interview to guide decisions about which tests and measures are appropriate. The remaining chapters describe the purposes and techniques of fundamental tests and measures commonly utilized in patient examinations, organized in a combined body system, patient condition manner. The priority or point list system is carried through each chapter, encouraging even novice clinicians to make clinical decisions about which tests and measures are essential and which ones may be unnecessary. So some of the key features of this text, as I just mentioned, the priority or point list feature. This clinical decision-making system is introduced to encourage and empower students to embrace this essential component of an autonomous profession. There are also 3 subjective documentation examples, which are introduced in Chapter 4, with each subsequent chapter closing with additional documentation for each case specific to the tests and measures introduced in that chapter. The second edition has been updated with over 300 new photographs. The Navigate 2 ebook, which you'll see later in this presentation, features dozens of high-quality video tutorials. Students can see the tested measures performed in a real clinical setting. Some of the key updates to the second edition: all content has been updated and revised to reflect the Guide to Physical Therapist Practice 3.0, including added information about systematic reviews. Another major update for the second edition is the addition of goniometry and manual muscle testing in Chapter 9. There are also 2 new documentation examples of the interview portion of the exam. Those were added to the end of Chapter 4 for a total of 3 examples. There's also a new section added on mobility and locomotion in Chapter 6, which links coverage of posture and gait. Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 now removed under the section heading of spinal nerve root integrity. The pronator drift test was added as part of the upper motor neuron test section in Chapter 10, and throughout the text there's greater emphasis on the importance of therapist-patient relationship, including a section about motivational interviewing. So really, this text was designed not only as a resource for students, but also as a resource for physical therapy faculty who are looking for a text that covers this broad content in a classroom-friendly way. So faculty using this text are really encouraged to use the various resources to complement classroom instruction and generate discussion. The multitude of short case examples can be used as classroom talking points, while the technique-based videos can be used to reinforce concepts. The priority or pointless feature will assist you in helping your students develop critical thinking and decision-making skills so they can determine what tests and measures are appropriate for a given patient. And this slide is just an example of some instructor feedback that we've received. So you can see one instructor adopting this text meant that they were able to require just 1 text rather than 3, which of course would be a big cost savings for students. Another instructor loves the videos, while a third instructor praises the priority or pointless feature. This is an Amazon student review for the first edition of the book. The student says they just couldn't imagine a PT school experience without the, quote, purple book. They also cite that the videos played a huge part in their ability to turn a list of questions and tests into a meaningful clinical examination. And if you're wondering where you can access those videos, those are available in the Navigate 2 Advantage Access platform. So each new copy of Fundamentals of the Physical Therapy Exam includes a free access code to Navigate 2. The access code is also sold separately for just half the cost of the print book at $49.95. So for those of you who may be unfamiliar, Navigate 2 is a robust learning management system designed by Jones and Bartlett Learning. In addition to the videos, the course features a full copy of the ebook, pre-created chapter quizzes, as well as all of your standard resources such as PowerPoint slides. So at this point, I am going to turn things over to my colleague Liam, and he's going to do a demonstration of Navigate 2.
Okay, thank you, Aliana. I appreciate that. One moment while I pull up the demo course. So this is the home page for Navigate 2. So when you first log in to your course, this is what you're going to see. So like Aliana had mentioned, that every new textbook that you receive will come with an access code for your students to access the course, as well as they can purchase digital access only. I also just wanted to mention that you can request a trial course and a full-length demo of Navigate 2, a more in-depth one where you can ask one-on-one questions with your account manager. But today I'm going to go over a quick demo so you can get a preview of everything that comes with Navigate 2. And also with Navigate 2, we do have an integration feature with Blackboard and with Canvas. So if you have to use Blackboard and Canvas as your learning management system, you will have the ability to associate your Navigate 2 course with the Canvas or Blackboard shell. And so what that does is allows your students to go through Blackboard or Canvas, select the Jones and Bartlett link, and it'll automatically log them in to Navigate 2. And the second part of that is it will pass the overall course total back from Navigate 2 into Blackboard or Canvas. So as we come over here, you'll notice that each chapter has its own topic. So when we select a topic, it's going to open it up and it's going to display all the content that we've added in for that chapter. So for each chapter, we've added in the learning objectives. These are just the key points students are going to learn throughout this chapter. We have an ebook. So if we select the ebook, it's going to bring us to the first page of that chapter. But once we're in the ebook, we have access to the entire book. In addition to reading the ebook on the computer, like I'm going to show you right now, we do have an app that is available as well. It's called Navigate eReader. It is available through the Apple App Store for iPhones, iPads, and the Google Play Store for Android phones and tablets. Students just sign into the app with the same username and password that they use to access the course. And then from the app, they can read the ebook, and they also have the ability to download it. So if they want to take it offline through the app, they can do that. But as you can see here, the ebook looks just like the textbook. You can even turn the page like the textbook. You do have the ability to change the layout to make it easier to read on the computer. So over here, we can change it to a one-page layout, which is going to make it much easier to zoom in. And then with the ebook, students and instructors have the capability of adding in notes. And then you can also come over here and add in highlights into the ebook as well. So students can only make notes for themselves, but instructors do have the capability of sharing their notes with the students or just making notes for themselves. So down here on the bottom set of icons, we have the gear icon here where it says add new annotations. We can easily come over here, share it with the class. So now when I save the notes with the save icon next to it, it's going to save those notes, and now these are going to sync up. So if a student were to log into the ebook, they will now have access to these notes and highlights. And then down here we have access table of contents, so you can access any section of the book right from here. We have this resources tab, which actually does two different things for you. One is My Stuff. So this is a bookmark of all the notes and highlights that you have made or that your students have made. You can jump right to that page. But then we also have the Media tab here. So these are the items we've added into the ebook, things that couldn't be put into a print book. So one of the major things that we've added into this book are videos. So we have a large amounts of videos that are available for you and your students to go through. So if you come over here, this is really a bookmark. So if I click on this video, it's going to bring me to the page where now I can select the icon to view it. And then with every video, there is audio that comes with it as well. If you need to turn it down, you can do that. And if you need to go over here in full screen, you can view the video in full screen as well. And then in addition to the videos that we've added into the ebook, we have knowledge checks. So these are ungraded questions we've added into the ebook. We have them spread throughout each chapter. These are really just here for students to check their knowledge. They don't report any grades, but it gives the ability for the students to come over here to answer the questions. And then they do have the ability to see if they got them right or wrong. If they did get it wrong, we tell them their answer is wrong, but we don't provide them the right answer because we want them to go back into the book to find that. And they just have to find that correct answer in between the different knowledge checks. So they don't have to go back too far to be able to look up that right answer. And then we've added in ebook quizzes at the end of each chapter. These ebook quizzes will report to the gradebook, and these are available right out of the box for your students to take. So once your student is done and they completed the ebook quiz, they'll be able to hit the Submit Assessment button down here. It will automatically score it for them. And then if they want to go in and review the ebook quiz to see what they got right and what they got wrong, they can do that from the gradebook. So with the ebook quizzes, once again, they will have 2 attempts, with them, and there's a 2-hour time limit. So these are set up right out of the box for you. I'll touch on in a few moments how you can create your own assessments from the question bank within the course. And the last thing I want to show you here is you can come over here, search for a keyword or term, and you can search the entire book. It'll tell you everywhere where that word or term is used. It gives you a preview. And then it'll bring you right to that page, and I'll highlight that word or term for you. So if we come back to the course, now you'll notice here we have the items that are in Instructor Resources, which we've added right into the course for you as well. So we have our PowerPoint slides that we've added in, our lecture outlines, and we have access to the image bank here as well. Now, as the instructor, you do have the ability to customize this and edit the course. So if you didn't want your students to have access to the slides or lecture outlines, you can come over here, hit this little drop-down box, and you can hide it. So when something's grayed out like this, that means it's not visible to the students, but as the instructor or any other instructors who may be teaching the course with you, they will be able to access these. And then if you want them to be visible, once again, you can come over here and hit the show button, and they'll be available for each students to see. You also have the capability of adding in your own topics into the course, so maybe you have your own content that you want to add into the course, or you want to put your course schedule and syllabus separately from one of the chapters. You can very easily do that. And we can come in here. So all you have to do is use this little move button, and you can rearrange the chapters. So if you don't teach in the order of the book, you can very easily have your course reflect that as well. And then if you want to add in your own content into the course, it's easy as dragging and dropping content from a folder on your computer right into one of these topics. So I'm actually adding in content to the syllabus topic here. And now we have a PDF and a Word document. These are just sample documents that I've added into the course, and these are going to be available for students to view. You also have the ability to come over here to add an activity or resource, and you'll find each topic has one. And you do have the ability to add in resources, so you can add in a file this way if you did not want to drag and drop files. You can link out to different URLs. So if you want to link out to a website, you can very easily do that. And through the page feature, you also have the capability of embedding YouTube videos. So if you had additional videos that you want to add into the course, you can very easily do that through this page feature down here. And then we also have activities. So these are gradable items that you have the capability of adding into the course. So you can set up assignments in the course if you need to. These are very straightforward. Anytime you add anything, you always have to put in a name and a description. If you want to link out to a different website right from the assignment, you can highlight the word or words, and you can hit the link button, and either you could type in or copy and paste the address here, or you can come over here and choose a file from your computer. So maybe you have a PDF you want them to read before they complete the assignment. You can come in here and you can link that. So that way students can get everything they need in one place. And then you have the standard options of being able to choose when students can first submit the test, when the due date is going to be, and then if you want to add in a cutoff date, you can add that in here as well. And then you'll be able to choose if students are just going to upload a file, or they can type in a response right in the website and type in their answer that way. And then you also have the capability of controlling, how this is going to be graded. So it defaults to 100 points, but if it needs to be 25 points per assignment, you can very easily do that. You also have the capability of adding in discussion forums into the course as well. So if you want to post questions to your students in a discussion forum setting and make it graded or ungraded, you can do that right here. But the main thing I want to show you under activities is navigate to assessment. This is where you have the capability of coming in and creating assessments within the course. So if we go to navigate to assessment, go to add. So really anything from a practice activity all the way to a graded final, we can do right through here. And if you want to do a multi-chapter test, it's very simple. So first we're going to go through the settings, and then you get to pick the question. So once you put in the name, you can then choose when it's going to open, when it's going to close. You can choose how many attempts students will have. They have all the standard settings here that you need. If you want to, you can choose to have it where, as shown on the edit screen, students take the same question, same order, or shuffle the questions. So once you're done picking all the settings you want here and setting it up, we now have the capability of editing the assessment, and we can add questions to it. So if we come over here, you can see the question bank that is available, and you can come in here and pick and choose the questions you want. So over here we have a section for each chapter, and then we also have a midterm and final that is available for you as well. But you can pick and choose these questions however you want. So if we go to Chapter 1, we can see the list of questions that are available. Very easily preview a question and pull it up. We also have the capability of coming over here and editing any of the questions in the course. So if you want to change something on the question, you can very simply either change the question itself and or change the choices down here, and the correct choice will have a grade of 100. And then when you're ready to add questions, you could either hit the Select All button if you know you want all the questions, or you can just check off the questions you want and add it to the assessment. And then if you want to do a multi-chapter test, just choose the next chapter and pick the questions you want. And then if you need to, you also have the ability to pick random questions and add them to the test as well. So now that we have this test created, I also want to point out, you do have the ability, if we go to this override section here, to give additional time for students who might need additional time on the test. So if I had set up a time limit, say of 40 minutes on this test, I could come over here and give Michael an additional 20 minutes and give him a total of 60 minutes. Or maybe he needs to make up the test because he was sick. We can change the date. So anything right here that we change will apply just for that one student, and you don't have to change the settings for everybody. So once you add a test into the course, students will be able to find it in the topic you added it to, but they also will have the capability of coming over here and they can find it from the calendar if we had put in a close date, and then you also have the capability of going back and editing this test if you need to. So if you need to change any settings, you can do that from here as well. And finally, what I want to show you last is the grade book and the reports that we have. So if we go to reports and grades, you will have access to the graded report. So this is really the master grade book in the course. So all your students as they enroll will show up here on the left-hand side, and then all the gradable items will show up here going left to right. So if you want to see how students are doing on this particular quiz, we can click on it, and we can get the results of all the students. So you'll have the capability of seeing who took it, when they started, when they finished, and what grade they received. So if we go to grade or review attempt, we can pull up the test exactly as they took it. So this way, if a student has a question on question 3, and you had shuffled questions, you know exactly which question he or she is referring to. If we come back here to the attempts page, also under assessment admin, we have a stats page that you can view. And this is going to be very helpful to compare how your students are doing as a class, on questions. So if we come down here, if you have random questions, it's going to say random. But if you pick out questions, you'll be able to see them. You can see how many students have taken that question. And then facility index here, this will give you the percentage of students who got that question right. So you can see, 100% everyone got it right, 50%, only half got it right. So if we select the question, we can then break it down, and we can see how students are doing based on the different responses. So with the one with the 100% partial credit, that's the correct choice, and then the other ones are the distractors. The user report, this will allow you to view the grade book for an individual student one at a time. And then we've also added in insights into Navigate 2, and this is a new feature that we've added. This allows you to come in here and get information on how your students are doing within the class. So you can see how much time they're spending within the e-book, how much time they're spending taking their different assessments, so you can see how each student is doing and how that correlates to their grade. So you have the ability to view it in a graph format here, and you also have the ability to come over here and view it in a table format as well. So that is built right into the course. And finally, the last thing I just want to point out is we do have a help guide that is built right into the course. It is a PDF. So you can get this access to the instructor manual at any point and you have the capability of going over different items within the course. And when students log in and they come here, they're going to get a student version of the help guide that is available for them. So that is a brief overview of Navigate 2. Once again, if you wanted a more in-depth overview of Navigate 2 or you want to get set up with the training on Navigate 2, that is something you can reach out to your account manager and they would be able to get that set up for you. So at this time, I'm going to pass it back to Aliana.
Thank you, Liam. And at this point, I want to just ask the operator to come back on the line and instruct people how they can ask a question live if they want to do that.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question at this time, please press the star, then the 1 key on your touch-tone telephone.
All right, and while we wait for questions, I do just want to remind everyone where they can go to request a copy of the book. So if you're looking to request a review copy, you can go to this link on your screen, go.jblearning.com/fruth2e. You can also request a Navigate 2 trial either by contacting your account manager or going to this other URL, go.jblearning.com/fruth2e-nav2. And lastly, if you're interested in doing any sort of customization either to the book or any of the content provided by Jones and Bartlett Learning, we do have a custom solutions website at customsolutions.jblearning.com. So at this time, do we have any questions on the line?
I'm not showing any questions in the queue at this time, Ms. Ortu.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so I think that's going to wrap things up for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.